Hello students, welcome to our channel Anand Academy of Education. Today we are going to start the organic chemistry part, and this is our first lecture, and in this lecture we will be seeing the very general introduction to organic chemistry, and I will teach you this lecture in a way that you can be able to crack intermediate, EAMCET, NEET or JEE examinations, and so I request you to listen to these lectures with utmost concentration. So let's get started. So the first and foremost question if we're going to study about organic chemistry is, what is organic chemistry? This is the fundamental question that we need to know and we need to understand before going further to study about organic chemistry. So what is organic chemistry? Organic chemistry is the branch of chemistry that deals with carbon compounds. Organic chemistry is the branch of chemistry that deals with carbon compounds, or in short we can say organic chemistry as the study of carbon compounds. We can say organic chemistry as the study of carbon compounds. We all know carbon exhibits an unique property called catenation. Carbon exhibits a unique property called catenation. What is catenation? Catenation is the ability of an atom to form long chains and rings, with its own atoms and others. So catenation is the ability of an atom to form long chains and rings with its own atoms and others. So carbon exhibits this unique property called catenation. So carbon can form long chains and rings with its own atoms and also other atoms. So it is given in the third point, it can form long chains and rings with its own atoms and others. So carbon forms covalent bonds with itself and other elements: hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus and halogens. So in organic chemistry we will be studying about all these compounds. So carbon forms covalent bonds, or carbon forms compounds with hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus and halogens, and we'll be studying about all these compounds under organic chemistry. So what is organic chemistry? Organic chemistry is the study of carbon compounds. Carbon exhibits a unique property called catenation. And what is catenation? Catenation is the ability of an atom to form long chains or rings with its own atoms and others. So in organic chemistry we will be studying about all the carbon compounds, all the compounds that carbon forms with other atoms, right? So carbon is the most common element that exhibits catenation. Carbon is the most common element that exhibits catenation. And what are some of the elements that exhibit catenation besides carbon? They are silicon. After carbon, silicon is the next common element, and after silicon we have sulfur and boron. So these three are the other elements that exhibit catenation. So besides carbon, silicon, sulfur and boron exhibits catenation. So now we are clear with what is organic chemistry, and let's go to the second question, which is, why is organic chemistry so important? So why do we need to study about organic chemistry, and why is organic chemistry so important? It is so important because life without carbon and its compounds is impossible. We cannot live on Earth without carbon. It is impossible to have life on Earth without carbon. And every living thing in this world or on earth is made up of carbon, and so without carbon our life on earth is impossible. So it is very important for us to study about carbon and its compounds, which is organic chemistry. So it is very important for us to study about organic chemistry, because without it life on earth is impossible. Without carbon life on earth is impossible. All the living things are made up of carbon. Our DNA, muscle tissue, carbohydrates, proteins, blood, skin, and everything in our body, or every living thing on earth is made up of carbon. And also plants require carbon for photosynthesis. Without carbon plants cannot live. Plants die without carbon. And polymers, fuels, medicines, clothes, and many more things require carbon. Carbon is the most essential thing for us to have life on earth. So it is very important for us to study organic chemistry. And studies on organic chemistry. We are now going to study about organic chemistry, but when was the first study on organic chemistry began? So the first studies on organic chemistry began around 200 years ago. So maybe around the in the 18th century. Yes, we can say it as 18th century. So in the 18th century, the studies about organic chemistry began, and around 1780, scientists started to differentiate between organic compounds from plants, animals, and inorganic compounds from mineral sources. So we have two types of compounds, organic and inorganic. Organic and inorganic. So scientists started to differentiate between organic compounds and inorganic compounds around 1780. So the studies on organic chemistry began around 200 years ago, and scientists started to differentiate between organic compounds and inorganic compounds around 1780. And a Swedish chemist, Berzelius, so he is a chemist. Berzelius believed that organic compounds are naturally occurring compounds. So Berzelius believed that organic compounds cannot be made artificially. So he believed that all the organic compounds on earth are naturally occurring compounds, and it is impossible to make them artificially. But however, Wohler, another chemist or scientist, synthesized urea, an organic compound. Urea is an organic compound from ammonium cyanate. So when we heat ammonium cyanate, NH4CNO, this is ammonium cyanate. When we heat ammonium cyanate, we will be getting urea, NH2CO, NH2. So this is urea. So this is an organic compound. And NH4CNO, ammonium cyanate, this is an inorganic compound. Berzelius believed that organic compounds are naturally occurring compounds, but Wohler synthesized urea from ammonium cyanate. And so it is proved that organic compounds can be made artificially in the laboratories. And subsequently, acetic acid by Kolbe and methane by Berthelot proved that organic compounds can be made from inorganic compounds in laboratory. Yes. So Berzelius used to believe that organic compounds cannot be made artificially, but Wohler and Kolbe, Berthelot, they have synthesized organic compounds from inorganic compounds in laboratory. So it is proved that organic compounds can be made from inorganic compounds.